lady who was in her late 70s, early 80s, came to me wanting to finally experience climbing. She kept seeing and hearing about it on social media. I always say it doesn't matter how old you are or what your abilities are. If you have the motivation to do something, you can do it. He was really good at taking instruction. I was giving a little bit of feedback on how to climb and the joy. I just remember how much joy she had from finally experiencing this.
Today, we're joined by Aric Fishman, founder of Outdoor Skills and Thrills, the premier guiding company in the Thunder Bay region. For the past 2 decades, he's been climbing and guiding over 250 days a year, with more than 200 first ascents and first free ascents to his name. Based in Thunder Bay, Eric's also the director of Canada's longest running ice climbing festival, the Nipigon Ice Fest, which is upcoming this year on March 6th to 8th. We'll get into all that in addition to his photography and filmmaking, and of course, his Golden Retriever Summit on today's episode. Welcome, Aric, to the show.
Yo, yo, how's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. I think the last time I saw you was at the last ice climbing festival. And so it's great to see
Yeah,
you again. And hopefully, I'm hoping
yeah,
to
you
make it
too.
to this year's as well.
Nice. Yeah, the ice conditions have been good this year.
Yeah. I really want to get into that because it's been a nice, cold, and wet season. So I wanted to just start off with your life, how you got to where you are today, the founder of Outdoor Skills and Thrills. Where did you grow up? How did you make it out to Thunder Bay? And all that.
I'll try to keep it relatively succinct because I can go off on a tangent. Just talking about my whole life, there's a lot, but keeping it climbing focused and to some benchmarks that I could describe. My first kind of introduction into climbing was when I was in high school. There was a portable climbing wall company that came to my school and they set up in the gymnasium. And every class had an opportunity to go climb and experience, like they had a bunch of bouldering walls and high rope and like ropes that you can kind of climb up with pressure cords and stuff like that. So, and a bit of a zip line. And so it's kind of like a cool little thing in the gym. And fortunately, my class was one of the first ones to go in the morning. And so I got to experience that a bit and fell in love immediately with the climbing and the moving on ropes and stuff like that. And I asked my teachers if I could stay longer. Like we had to leave, but I'm like, oh no, can I stick around? And they saw how much I loved it, so they asked the person who was running it. Um, and he was like, yeah, totally. Like he could stick around for as long as he wants. So I ended up spending like hours playing around on the bouldering wall and moving on the ropes and stuff. And so that was kind of like my first introduction to like climbing, even though ever since I was really young, I would always be climbing on anything that I could find. So whether it was going up trees or jumping around in the jungle gym or climbing up weird structures and buildings and stuff, I was always kind of climbing. That was my first introduction to like kind of structured climbing. And
It-
so I went home that day and told my family how much fun it was. And my brother, who's a year older than me, said, oh, you like climbing? I have a friend who's been climbing for decades. You should totally connect and he'll take you out. And so right away, I was kind of mentored by my brother's friend, whose name is Ben. And he took me out outdoor climbing right away. This was after also going a bit indoor climbing. Me and my brother found like a climbing gym. This was down in Southern Ontario when I lived down closer to Toronto,
We're in Southern Ontario.
in York Region, Thornhill
Okay.
area, north of like Bathurst and Steeles area.
And was Ben also lived in the general region that you lived in? Because I'm always curious about like how you meet your first climbing mentor and how you plan the first
Yeah,
day.
right. He lived nearby, close to us, and he was good friends with my brother. And my brother just connected us. I think the first time we went out was just to a climbing gym, like all of us together. And then
Mhm.
he was like, "Oh yeah, you need to come outside." And so he took me down in the escarpment, the Niagara Escarpment. I think it was probably Rattlesnake Point the first time. Maybe it was Mount Nemo or something like that. Um,
One of the two famous crags in
yeah,
Halton.
yes. And then, yeah, we just went outdoor climbing, and it was kind of like from that moment on, I was obsessed with climbing. Like that's all I wanted to do, like 5 days a week, just climbing as much as I possibly could. So that was kind of like the introduction into climbing. I was also like a well-traveled climber, and so we went together on like climbing trips. So I ended up being like a good partner for him and learned really quick, and he taught me a bunch of skills. And then I started also doing a lot of research on my own and kind of gaining my skill set. Yeah. So and then going on climbing trips. Like first climbing trip was at the Gunk in New Paltz, New York. And that was like my first kind of like trip experience, and it was super awesome. Like, yeah, definitely was in love with it from the get go.
So I know that you take off some time every year to go traveling. So how many spots
Yeah,
have you been in the world? Because we're gonna get to like Thunder Bay and why Thunder Bay is the crown jewel of
yeah.
Ontario. So we just need to have a reference point of like I've been to a lot of places.
I've been to a lot of places. Yeah, it's like I could name off so many different areas and crags. I really love because I live in Ontario. North America has been very accessible. I like to road trip a lot, so I've traveled all over Canada and all over the U.S. to climb. So I could start listing off like almost every state and a bunch of different climbing areas within each of those states. And so the list would be quite long, but essentially I like to go all over, like some random spots that I could just start naming off, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I'll stop myself after a
Okay.
bit. But like from here going to climbing, so I lived in Calgary for a bit as a way to climb near Canmore. So climbing in Canmore area and Banff area, and doing a bunch of like the single pitch and multi pitch climbing there, going to Squamish a ton, lived there also for like 6 months out of a tent just to be able to climb. And I also worked at a laundromat as a way to like fund my climbing while I was there. So climbed in Squamish a lot and went back year after year after year. In the States, so Canada, it's very diverse, but the States has like a wide variety of climbing. Also, by the way, Bugaboos, fantastic area for more of like an alpine rock kind of climbing. But yeah, leaving Canada, I could keep talking about Canada for a long time. Leaving Canada, going to the States, like when I lived in Southern Ontario, we'd go a lot to the Gunk, the Red River Gorge in Kentucky, the New River Gorge in West Virginia, going to Tennessee, Chattanooga, heading a little more Midwest, like from Thunder Bay. It's really accessible to go to like South Dakota, so the Black Hills, going to like the Mount Rushmore area. I climbed a lot in places like the Devil's Tower and Spearfish Canyon in Wyoming.
So really like
Moving south, yeah, a little more south now. We're in Colorado. Yeah, I've traveled everywhere. I like road tripping a lot, and I kind of hit up a bunch of different places and stay for a while and experience the different types of spots. Colorado, I've climbed so many places in Colorado, like Boulder, Colorado, and Grand Junction area, and Unaweep Canyon, and tons like Rifle Mountain National Park, and one of my favorite places to go is Utah. Like I love going to Indian Creek near Moab. Go there almost every year because it just lines up perfectly with the weather for me here. Yeah, and then
yeah.
going up further west, like Joshua Tree, Las Vegas, going to climb at Red Rocks or Smith Rock in Oregon, or the Frenchman Coulee in Washington. Tons and tons of areas. I can keep listing
Yeah.
things, but kind of climbing all over. I've also climbed down in Mexico, at Charo Chico. I've climbed in Greece. I've climbed in Israel. So yeah, it's the list is large, but I still have a ton of places to go visit. Like
So
it's tons. It's endless.
so then brings us to the natural question. You ended up in Thunder Bay for school. Why
Was the
did you stay
excuse?
there?
Yeah. Why I stayed here in the end was because of the. So I'll backtrack just a little bit. Um, so coming to Thunder Bay. Me and my brother had a guiding company that we started in Southern Ontario, doing climbing and hiking trips and paddling trips, like canoeing and kayaking. Um, and we were running that for a couple of years, and I decided to head to Thunder Bay because it has well-renowned outdoor recreation, parks and tourism university program. And when I was growing up, I was taking a bunch of wilderness survival courses when I was quite young. And the person who ran those courses kept telling me Thunder Bay was an awesome place. He saw that he knew me before I started climbing, and then he also knew me. I was helping him guide trip after I started climbing. And he was like, as a climber, you totally have to go to Thunder Bay. You should check out this outdoor recreation program. That'll get you there. And so it was always kind of in the back of my mind. But when me and my brother started that company, and I thought it would be good to learn certain skills that would help us expand the company, kept thinking of Thunder Bay would be a good option. I knew nothing about Thunder Bay other than what the wilderness survival mentor taught me, just that it was like fantastic region and tons of climbing and that I would love it. So I looked into the outdoor recreation program and thought this would be a good fit and a good way for me to get to check out Thunder Bay. Maybe I'd spend the 4-year program and learn what I need to do and climb a bunch while I'm doing that, and then move back to Southern Ontario. And so I came to Thunder Bay, and like day one, as soon as I landed and saw this region, which is absolutely like riddled with cliffs, like there's so many cliffs around here and they're all really cool. As a climber, I fell in love immediately. Like, this is a really sweet spot. And so climbed everything that was established. I moved here in 2006. There was a lot of routes established, but not nearly as many as there are now. So I was able to, over the 4 years of going through university, I had a good crew of friends that were climbers as well. And we climbed everything. Like, we were highly motivated. So, and then at some point started looking at the cliff, like the lines between the lines, and looking like, is that a climb? And lo and behold, it wasn't documented anyway. Nobody knew if anything. It's like, nope, that's not a climb. And I'm like, that really needs to be a climb. And so started like developing routes in the area and got really motivated to do that because the rock here is so fantastic.
You've been developing routes before you got to Thunder Bay, or is that new?
A little bit, not even close to as extensive this year. Like, I did a little bit of new routing, but it wasn't focused. It was more so just like going up like, as an example, at McCrae Lake in Southern
Hmm.
Ontario. Um, we would go there a ton for canoe tripping, and then we would climb there as well. There was certain established routes, and I would just kind of, pioneer my way up some rock. Um,
Hmm.
and kind of like establish some anchors and stuff. So it wasn't as like, I'm developing this route. It's more just like exploring territory. But I started really developing routes, like legitimately developing routes in Thunder Bay. And so, yeah, that's a long way of saying that's what kept me here, was the sheer amount of climbing that there is here. Like, it's a lifetime's worth of climbing, and the development opportunities like there is, which I really love to do. So there's tons to develop. And the community is also really awesome. Like, it's a really close knit tight community. It's a small big town, like it's got 100,000 so people, and all the climbers know each other. So you make connections really well with people. And so kind of like all those things combined, the accessibility of stuff. So like not only rock climbing, but ice climbing, like year round, all year you could be climbing, except for like 2 months out of the year, which is when I travel. I go and do road trips during those times when it's like too wet in between the seasons. So I think that's what kept me here, was how much world class climbing there is, and just the vibe, like it's a good cost of living to be up here.
It wasn't meant to be any put down on Thunder Bay. Every single time I've been to Thunder Bay, I absolutely love it. I've now been twice in the
Oh yeah,
winter.
yeah. Didn't take that as a put down at all. No, that's it's like, why do you choose Thunder Bay? Totally. It's like I could be anywhere. I could be anywhere. And I think about that quite often. I'm like, I could just move over there or over there, or I travel there. It's super awesome there. Let's just go move over there. But I think Thunder Bay has, at least for now, ticked off all the boxes that make me happy. And so And it's also a very good central location where I could travel easily all over from. Like I'm 45 minutes from the US border, and some people don't like long drives, but it's only 30-ish hours to get all the way to Squamish from here. It's like, 15 hours to go visit my folks in Southern Ontario. 24 hours to get to like Utah and Indian Creek. It's 35 hours to get to California and go climb in like J Tree or Yosemite or something. Like it's very accessible if you don't mind long drives, which I don't mind.
Yeah. It's funny that Thunder Bay, even though it is in Ontario, getting to Toronto is like as difficult as getting to the west coast of Canada.
Sure. Yeah.
So you get to Thunder Bay, you start climbing, you're putting up all these new routes. What made you start the outdoor skills and thrills? How did you begin that?
So so the initial goal with coming to Thunder Bay was, to expand the guiding company in Southern Ontario. So, but as soon as I moved here, I knew I was not moving back to Southern Ontario. Like this was now home. So I always had known that so guiding is what I truly love, like instructing and getting people outdoors. And that's always been a major passion of mine. Uh, And so I knew that I wanted to continue to pursue that, even if I didn't move back to Southern Ontario and continue guiding down there. I knew that I was gonna, like, the whole reason for me coming up here was to gain skills in order to expand a business. So I decided to just continue pursuing that here in Thunder Bay. So as soon as I graduated, I kind of started putting my sights towards, okay, so, this is the life I want to live. I'm going to start pursuing that goal.
Mm,
So doing everything that I needed to do to start up a business, get the certifications, get the insurance, create a website, start doing advertising stuff, all the kind of stuff that goes into creating a business. Started doing that. And that took about a year from when I graduated, and in that time, I was working at a local gear shop called Wilderness Supply, which has always been incredibly supportive of the climbing community and of things that I do for this community. So they're very supportive of me pursuing that and working there while I was figuring all that out. And then as soon as I had everything in place, I just dove head in and committed to starting Outdoor Skills and Thrills, which is the guiding company that I run. And yeah, focusing on rock climbing and ice climbing, different types of adventures, different types of courses as a way to, there's many kind of missions, like many kind of goals that I have. One is to get people outside, to experience the outdoors because, it's super healthy and good mentally, physically, spiritually. Climbing has done so much for me in my life that I wanted to spread that to others. Like the more people I feel that I can expose to climbing, it can only have positive impact if the person that you are introducing to climbing learns properly, like learns in a good way. You can either I always knew that like, there's two types of people that'll take you out. It's like one that'll throw you in the deep end, like let's go do a hard climb or a super tall climb or like not give you any instruction and then you're scared out of your wits and you never do it again. That could be for any activity, right? Like you learn how to mountain bike or surf or paddle. If you're thrown in the deep end, you might decide, nah, this isn't for me. But if you learn properly with good instruction, with the right setting and the right level for that individual, then it can be a really engaging, fulfilling experience. And so that's always been a passion of mine is to do that for people, to have the patience and the personality type to help people have a really good time and a safe experience. You don't want
mhm.
anyone to get hurt, so safety is always number one, but fun comes right behind it. So yeah,
So
that's kind of like the goal.
how do you structure your courses then to make that a reality? So let's take like an intro to rock climbing or intro to ice climbing course. What how do you run that?
So at first, it starts with learning about the person that I'm taking out. So there's some communication that goes back and forth. The forms that I have people fill out help me. Some of the questions that I have in there are things like, what are your goals? for this day? What do you kind of want to get out of it? What's your experience level? Do you feel comfortable? Like, so there's like an initial process which helps me figure out what the person is into, what their comfort level might be, and that helps me kind of tailor the experience accordingly. So there's so many different areas around here to climb that are suitable for different skill levels and experience levels and comfort levels. So it's kind of like it starts with learning about the person and then me picking what area would be best for that person or that group of people. Maybe there's a very diverse skill set. Like maybe there's like super beginners that are scared, but also I'm going to be taking out more experienced people who want to try harder. All these things come into play about where I decide to take people. So the location is also very key, is making sure that I take them to a spot that will be good for that experience. Um, Same with like if it's a course, but if we're sticking to, let's say, intro type stuff, I meet the people, get them all the properly fitted gear to make sure that they have the right equipment, kind of explain everything as I'm doing things. So I'm not just like giving somebody something. I'm explaining the purposes for everything so that they start gaining an understanding of the equipment and its limitations and how strong things are and what the uses are, like the climbing shoes or the crampons or whatever it might be. So everything throughout the entire day, I'm verbalizing everything so that they're gaining knowledge and experience and not just running through emotions.
Hmm.
So awareness I find is key so that people understand, which helps make people feel confident and safe. And then it's like at the venue, if I fast forward a bit, going through showing like demos and getting people to try things slowly but surely. So as an example, like I kind of have like a no stress approach. I say that it's like challenge by choice. You are not forced to do anything. You challenge yourself as much as you want to. And of course, I'm here to help push that boundary, but I know the line. Like I've gotten really good at figuring out where people's comfort levels are. And especially when you're starting out, you don't want to go from feeling good to being scared necessarily. Maybe a little bit is fine because there's growth that happens in that. But a good experience at first is really good to make sure that that happens. So like like getting people to go on if it's their first time climbing, getting people to go on a rope and climb up a couple of meters or a few meters and then sit on the rope and see that it's actually got you and then practice getting lowered. And so doing a lot of things without just being like, and now go to the top, but kind of doing things slowly but surely so that people gain confidence and they have like little goals that they can accomplish. Like, let's just get 5 meters up, sit down in your harness, see what it feels like, come back down. Okay, cool. That's mission accomplished. Now let's go a little bit higher. Or some people, I'm like, they get to that point and they're like, I'm just gonna keep going. So like kind of customizing according to the person is very important. But yeah, I think a large part of it is making sure that people have a really good experience their first time.
Do you remember any specific beginner that you were really proud of that really pushed themselves or someone who did something memorable? I remember hearing that you've got a very good memory of the people that you take out and you remember a lot of the guides specifically. So I'm just
Yeah,
curious if there's a story that
I can
sticks out.
remember almost. Yeah, there's I definitely I don't know how, but I can like remember almost everybody that I've taken out, which is a lot of people. But I think that probably because like I really, really try to make a connection with people. They're not just like somebody that's coming and going. Like I connect with everybody. So many times after an outing, we're like hugging, like it was so good. Like see you again soon, and stay in connection with these people, for a long time after, and even still. So I think the connection part is huge. There's so many stories of that pop into mind of people that really push themselves or that I'm super proud of, like so many people. One example that uh, pops into mind right away as an example is this lady who was probably in her late 70s, early 80s, um, who came to me wanting to finally experience climbing. Like, she kept seeing things like advertised, like in magazines and hearing about it on social media, and kind of had always been intrigued. Her father had climbed in the past, so she had like a bit of a connection with that. And she came to me and she just wanted a good experience. And I remember so distinctly, I always say, like, doesn't matter how old you are or what your abilities are, if you have the motivation to do something, you can do it. And so she was a perfect example of that, where, some people might think like, "Oh, too old to climb." In my mind, that's not even at all. I know people who climb into really old age. And so she was an example of somebody who came to me. I was like super excited to get her out. I took her to climb up at Pass Lake, which is a local sandstone cliff where it has lots of features, like lots of handholds and footholds to use. So it's less cryptic than some of the other areas where it's like you kind of have to really find the holds. I took her to a spot that also had like a bit of a slab area. So it would be easier for her, not just hanging fully on the arms, but also being able to really settle on the feet. And she was really good at taking instruction. So I was like, giving a little bit of feedback on how to climb, some instruction, and the joy. Like, I just remember how much joy she had from finally experiencing this. And so it was incredibly memorable, not only because of her personality, because, you know, she finally got to do something that she had been dreaming of her whole life. And I was able to help facilitate that. And she had a phenomenal experience. And she still climbs. She still climbs now. So that was a good yeah. So I think that was absolutely fantastic. Another cool experience that pops into mind is like ice climbing. There's a few folks who came to Canada as their first winter experience. Like, they've never seen snow before. They've never seen, like, they literally landed in Thunder Bay. Who knows why they chose Thunder Bay? I think it's because, well, they told me after they kept seeing how many things there were to do in winter in Thunder Bay. Like, there's really good skiing, there's really good ice climbing, there's really good snowshoeing and ice fishing. So they wanted like a Canadian winter experience, and Thunder Bay was like up there on the list. And so, they kind of planned their winter experience, and part of that was ice climbing. It was actually day one of their itinerary was to go ice climbing.
Once you
And
do that,
so
you could
they
do
went,
anything.
oh yeah, like go ice climbing and then you're set. So I distinctly remember, so it was like in Thunder Bay proper where they landed, there wasn't very much snow like at all, but then you drive. So I wanted to take them to an awesome spot, which is like where we run the Nipigon Ice Fest, which
Mm.
is about an hour and a half away from Thunder Bay at a spot called Orient Bay. That's one of the spots with hundreds of climbs that we run the Ice Fest, but I also run a ton of clinics out there and outings and courses. Anyways, I was like, you want a true Canadian experience? Let's go to Orient Bay as your first ever winter experience, which is absolutely epic. But no snow in Thunder Bay, tons of snow at Orient Bay, like at least waist
Yeah.
deep. And so they rented a car in Thunder Bay. They drove all the way to Orient Bay. And when we parked our vehicles, I got out and they opened their doors for the first time and they stepped into the snow. And that was their first snow experience. So like, and I had never seen that before, like somebody really experiencing snow for the first time. And they almost didn't care about ice climbing at that
Yeah.
point. They were jumping in the snow and lifting it up and throwing snowballs at each other. And they're like, this is snow. And they just like started doing like snow angels. And it was like the most epic introduction to snow. And then we went ice climbing, which they fell in love with. So yeah, that was also another really memorable experience. Yeah. So
The
those are a
only
couple right there.
the only people or the only living things that I've seen experience snow for the first time are my family's dogs and my nephew. And every single time someone touches snow for the first time, it's like the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So you've taken 70-year-olds rock climbing, and then what's the youngest that you would take on the other end?
The youngest that I would take, there's no limitation to that for wood. The only limitation starts becoming like equipment and stuff like that. But for rock climbing, it's a lot easier than ice climbing.
Hmm.
So the youngest that I have taken out versus wood. So the youngest that I have taken out was 3 years old for rock climbing and 6 years old for ice climbing. But yeah, it's like if you can walk, you can climb. So it's like that's the
Yeah.
limitation. When do people start walking? I don't know, like 1, 2 years old kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
That'd be quite
but yeah,
impressive.
in terms of ice climbing, there's a
Walk up
lot
the
more
wall.
risk. Yeah. When you're ice climbing, you have a bunch of sharp stuff on you. Um, so rock climbing is a little easier for younger kids because there's no sharp things to get injured on. There's no slippery ice to slide down. So rock climbing is way more accessible for young children. Also, they do make really tiny rock climbing shoes and full body harnesses, which are also can be used for ice climbing, but they're really awesome. There's equipment that's readily available for your really young kids rock climbing. There isn't that for ice climbing. Like a really young kid, they don't make mountaineering boots that small. So you have to use ski boots, like really small kids ski boots, but then you have to fit the crampons onto those really tiny ski boots, and crampons only go so small. So there are limitations to that. And the ice axes, they're for a really tiny kid, that's like super heavy. So I do have, because I do take out kids sometimes, I have a bunch of equipment. Like I have the lightest weight ice axes. Sometimes I'll even take off the handles off the ice axis so it's just like the top of it. And I'll put on like a smaller pick. And I have a bunch of like e-boots that are really, really tiny that I can fit certain crampons onto. So I try to make it accessible, but it's also like a lot riskier ice climbing when you're super young because you're wielding weapons and you're walking around with super sharp knives on your feet.
Yeah, like parents sometimes don't let their children use knives in the kitchen for a long time. So 2 knives
Yeah.
outside is yeah,
2 knives and then like, a buttload of knives on your feet. It's
yeah.
like super risky. But if ever I take out really young kids, I only do it if we can do it like kind of like a one-on-one thing, like a very private, customized thing.
Mhm.
Because I want to be able to really focus on that kid and like, only be with them there the whole time, like right beside them, walking through everything. And then, the moment they're not on the ice, we're taking off the crampons and the ice axes are not in their hands anymore. Stuff like that. But yeah, really young to really old. The oldest I've taken out is probably around 80, 85 years old, and the youngest is around 3.
That's really incredible. I'm looking at the time, and there's 2 more things that I want to talk about today, so I'm gonna jump topics. Nipigon Ice Fest. Can you tell a little bit about
Yeah.
the history and what you have planned for today for this year? It's coming up in a month.
Yeah. So this is actually the anniversary year. It's 40th anniversary of the Nipigon Ice Fest. So it's the Canada's longest running ice climbing festival, which is super awesome. We're celebrating the 40th year. I've been running it for about 15 years. I don't know exactly. It could be more, it could be a bit less. It's around 15 years. And it's a really awesome event where we come together as a community. Everything is volunteer run. So the instructors that help run clinic, the organizers like myself and a few others, we all volunteer our time as a community service to organize and run an ice climbing festival, which is essentially an opportunity for people to come together and experience ice climbing and different community events. So like we run a variety of clinics like beginners ice climbing, intermediate ice climbing, mixed climbing. There's a women's LGBTQIA clinic. Uh, so there's like a variety of climbing clinics that people can sign up for people to get out climbing. Depending on their experience level, they can kind of put themselves into different skill levels. And So that's what we do during the day. And then in the evening time, we usually run like presentations from super inspirational folks. We also kind of run different types of games, like fun interactive games that people can play around with and win prizes and stuff like that. We have like a legendary gear raffle, tons of prizes that people can win. And you can put your tickets in to win different prizes and things like that.
Yeah,
So yeah,
the
it's just
gear
like a really fun event. What's that?
the gear raffle is quite something. I had no idea what to expect, but there are some serious prizes that are raffled off for that.
Yeah, everybody loves the gear apple. You could win so many things. You could go ice climbing and then win a set of ice axes and crampons that night. So it's like, yeah, super fun. It's really awesome to have different climbing companies support the event and also local companies as well
Have you
who help support and sponsor.
have you guys announced the speaker, the main speaker for this year's festival, or not yet?
Not this year. Yeah. I'm actually still been chatting back and forth with a few different folks who haven't fully committed yet. So I'm waiting for their full commitment, but we're actually thinking of running it a little bit differently this year for the 40th anniversary, which is a little more community oriented. So instead of we're debating and we're going to decide in the next week that it's totally fine if we don't have a presenter because we have like cool ideas of doing some more community based stuff, as in like different climbers in the community, each competing with their own like 5 minute presentation and who's gonna win it, like who's got the best story or call somebody out for this or that or whatever it might be. We've got a bunch of different cool interactive games like trivia and rope coiling contests and pull up competitions and we have a bunch of like stuff where instead of necessarily sitting and listening to a presentation that everybody can interact with. So we've got a bunch of things planned. So we haven't fully decided on how it's going to look, but we're making those decisions the last minute here.
That makes sense. Surprising. So when I went for the first time a couple of years ago, I was shocked at how welcoming the community was out in Thunder Bay. And then when I went last year, after not seeing a lot of people for the entire year, felt like barely any time had passed because right away
Yeah.
everyone was welcomed us to their table. So it's a good way to like show off that. So whatever happens, I'm sure it's going to be a very good festival this year too.
Yeah. It'll be super fun for sure.
And then switching gears one more time, we talked a lot about like how accessible, how many routes there are, and how easy it is for beginners to go to Thunder Bay region. But I know you've also been putting up really hard routes too. And so,
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of see where you're going at with this. How it's not only for beginners, it's also for more experienced folks. Um, and it is, I mean, Thunder Bay. So two different things. If you're an experienced climber, you can come here and truly be entertained from easy to really hard, all styles of climbing, whether it's rock or ice or mixed or age climbing or trad climbing, sport climbing. It really has it all, single pitch, multi pitch, both rock and ice. And so yeah, tons of routes going up, from 5.5 to 13 plus and harder, 5.13 and harder. So yeah, tons going up. There's also opportunities for people to take courses. Like, so there's, stuff that's good. As an example, with my guiding company, I do a lot of like beginner and introductory stuff and stuff like that, or taking people out for their first time. But just as much, I love taking people out to like, I run a lot of courses. So if you're wanting to learn how to expand your skills, there's lots of opportunities where there's many different types of courses, whether you want to learn how to do top rope anchors, lead climbing, core climbing, trad climbing, how to aid climb, self rescue courses, learning to lead on ice. There's so many opportunities to expand your skill set. So it's not just for beginners. If you're highly experienced, you can be well entertained, but also if you're wanting to expand on your skill sets to take yourself to that next level, there's certainly those opportunities with courses as well.
yeah, I think that, well, for everyone in Toronto, they should go out, go up north to Thunder Bay, see the rest of the province, because The northern part of our province looks completely different than the southern part of our province.
Totally different.
And then you could really challenge yourself on and learn like multi-pitch and everything like that without going out west, which is really special here.
Yeah, that's very, very nice. You could take the drive from Southern Ontario. It's depending on where you are, and let's say around 13-hour drive, which is a bit of a drive, but a cool road trip. It's absolutely gorgeous the whole way. Or you could take an hour and a half flight for usually pretty cheap. So it's like really fast to get here, and then everything is super accessible. I wrote a guidebook for the area, so you can have like a document resource like to help guide you along the way and show you exactly where you need to go. So it's on par with any top destination. It's got it all here. It's really good. It's worth checking out.
Yeah. It's one of the best guidebooks that I've looked at, that I've seen and
Hey,
used before.
yeah, thanks, man. I have one here close to me. But yeah, that's Thunder Bay Climbing Guide to
Yeah.
Northwest Ontario's Best Kept Secret. It's big. Got
It's wide.
tons of climbs. Yeah, it's big, super big. Look at that splitter. Look at that splitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much to do. You can get this book a variety of places. You can get it on outdoorskillsandthrills.com. You can go to Mountain Equipment Co-op. You can get it at Climb On in Squamish, in Verdict Valley in Quebec. There's a variety of places that you can get it. Wilderness Supply here in Thunder Bay. It's
What
readily available.
what's one crag that you would recommend to everyone around the world to try?
The Outbreak Wall in Thunder Bay, you mean? Or Orient Bay. So those are two really top destinations. The Outbreak, Orient Bay has been a long-standing area here that's been developed since the early 80s or mid 80s. Orient Bay is a fantastic area that's been developed since like the mid 80s, and it has tons of really cool big climbs, like phenomenal climbing, tons of sport and trad and multi-pitch and some single pitch, but it's a hard to even describe. It's absolutely gorgeous, like filled with cliff, like kilometers and kilometers of cliff lines. And so that's highly recommended, really good top quality routes. And then Outbreak Wall is like there was nothing developed on this cliff line until I like found it and started developing cliffs climbs there. And so it was just before COVID, just before 2020, I decided to like I found it. And I'm like, it's a 2 kilometer long cliff line that's quite accessible, like very short, 12-minute walk. Uh, and it's on Crown land, and it's phenomenal rock. And so put up like turned it into a crag, and it's become since then like me and a handful of others have put in so much work there that it's truly been developed into like a world-class climbing area, um, with at this point well over 100 routes. Uh, Sport trad and mixed climbing. I think the easiest grade is probably like, and bouldering also, like 5.8 until 5.13 plus, at this point, and everything in between. Absolutely phenomenal rock in a like marvelous setting. Like it's absolutely gorgeous. So those are two spots you have to check out. And if you want something a little less like intense, you want to just go side of the road bragging. Pass Lake is unique. It's the only sandstone cliff in Ontario with climbing established on it. And it's really, really fun. Like it's awesome sandstone climbing. Like quite literally like 3 seconds from your car. It's like you park your car and the cliff is right there. And it's mostly sport climbing, but really good, fun sport climbing up to about 20 meters tall. So
Well,
really fun. Those are three like, you should check them out because they're each really unique in their own ways.
yeah, I need to come in the summer one time. I've only been in the winter. Well, we've been ending all these podcasts with one guidebook recommendation, and I'll recommend your guidebook. We've talked about it already on this call, but if one other, oh, and there's Summit in the background. If you have one other guidebook recommendation or an area that people should go out and get the guidebook, that would be great.
I'll do one in the US and one in Canada. So in Canada, you should totally go get the Squamish guidebook. It's fantastic. I mean, Squamish is super fun and really awesome. And there's like a really good guidebook there to get as well, quite big. And then a spot in the US, I mean, one of my favorite spots truly is Indian Creek. And the guidebook there is also really good. It's inspirational. So I'd say, yeah, between those two places, those are like really good guidebooks to get. And if you haven't already visited those places, get the guidebook and flip through it, and you'll start to be inspired to start traveling a bit more.
Thank you very much, Aric, for those recommendations and for joining us on the podcast today. And we'll
You're
check
welcome.
in 1 month for the Nipigon Ice Fest.